was a little long, but
Oh, that's okay.
welcome.
That's my sister over there in the doorway saying hi.
Well, hi.
But she doesn't want to be on camera.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she could join in at any time.
She could. I told her she could. Yeah.
So have a good chit chat.
Well, thank you. So, welcome to Tea Time at the Dish. And
got my tea.
I'm your host, Carla from Carla Astrology, and then I have the beautiful Farah Nadila from Farah Nadila.
That's me.
Amber Ton was supposed to be here today. I talked to her earlier, and she is possibly en route right now. So she might not be able to make it. So, and today we're going to be discussing the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it's upside down.
Is it upside down? Oh, sorry. There we go. 4 Agreements.
Yes. So I did not realize that it was written in 1997. Yeah, it's a small, short read, but impacted me so much. And the reason I wanted to have you, Farah, is because, like, I forget how long ago we started talking to each other, but whenever I would
say November, maybe.
It's been a while.
November, October or something.
I'd be venting and she'd say, it's okay to vent, Carla. And I'd be, yeah, okay, so I'd vent.
Yeah.
And you'd go, don't assume. Or you'd go, be impeccable with your words.
Yep.
Or I just constantly going, where are you getting this? And she'd ask me if I'd read the 4 Agreements. I'm like,
yep.
No. And then I was like, oh, hello, I need to read it. Yep. And when I did, I was just like, oh my gosh, I should have read this. I should have read this a long time ago. Yeah, it's an amazing read. And I'm so thankful that I did. And like I said, it's not very long. I listened to it on Audible, so it was like a little over 2 hours.
Not bad at all, really. That's like the length of a movie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to put it up on the screen just so that people can read it real quick if they're not familiar. So the 4 Agreements, it's, like I said, it's a short read, but the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. 3 is don't make assumptions. And 4, always do your best.
Yep.
And the book just kind of puts, like, he talks about scenarios where you can apply those. And it's gold. What do you think? What do you think about that book?
You know what? It's funny because there's, I just moved to this new home in, half a year ago. Right. And so, hey, Julia. And, how you doing? Oh, hi, Nova. Good to have you. So I had to pack up all my books, and I needed this book. There are certain books that just if you're going to move and you're going to move to a new home, you have to take it with you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then like it's highlighted, it's dog-eared.
Oh my goodness.
Like it's, these are books that you just come back over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm glad that you said that because I've talked to people that have read it. And they're like, oh yeah, I read that a long time ago. And they're like, you must just like be in it. And I'm thinking, I need to stay in it, because if I don't, then I find myself, reacting instead of stepping back and thinking about, okay, there is a way to handle this. Because, we all have instances where we're triggered. Mine happens a lot with my kids' boyfriends.
Oh, right.
And driving.
Right. Yeah. And I think I've said before that I have depression, and when somebody has depression or is sensitive, you can start to take on other people's energy,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, I mean, I know I was talking to Nova about this yesterday. um, you start to take on other people's energy, and sometimes, you know, you can help the other person, but it's not always good to take on somebody else's stuff, you know what I mean? And so you don't want to take stuff personally, because everybody's got their own stuff to deal with, and they've got to do it on their own.
Well,
Hi,
hi,
Anthony.
Anthony. Absolutely, because the biggest thing that I took away after reading it is that everybody is responsible for their own reactions, their own thoughts, everything. It's like we we have no control over what people think or say, and if we think we do, or if we take it upon ourselves, just like you said, if we take their energy on us, then then the next thing that you do is a result of that. It's like, like for myself, if I'm triggered by something, and especially if I have reacted badly to whatever I'm triggered to, well, then who knows how long that little incident is going to become this big, long thing that I'm dealing with for months, maybe. Who knows?
Right, right.
Julie says, it's hard to keep information from a book in the forefront of your mind unless you make it a daily practice of some kind.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, and you know, it just I think that's part of the reason why, because depression, and because it becomes it's a very self-centered disease, or condition, where it's like, oh, I must have done something. Oh, I'm the bad one, or I'm the one that's at the fault, or and I have to work so hard at that. At So there's like these certain coping skills that I have now, where I have to, and of course this is one of the coping skills, because I have to work so hard all the time. And he talks about this. He's failed. He's messed up. He's not perfect either. And it's a practice, and we just keep practicing and practicing.
Yes. I think that like for myself, I am, on a path of trying to become enlightened. And along that process, I mean, I can read all the esoteric text and think, okay, this is what I got to do. But when you are applying that to even mundane matters, like when you have to drive, or when you're at the grocery store, or if it's family, because or people that are around you every day, it's makes it helpful when you have a guideline, like you said, these coping mechanisms, because I could be spiritual all day, but I can't. Okay, I need to go home and meditate. I need
Yeah.
something to help me until I can, reassess or ground, or just, you know what I mean? And yes, I can try to do that when I'm driving, but I have to also be present. I have to be present in the moment. So kind of what I was thinking is without getting into any of our own personal details, I was thinking, like, because there's a lot of stuff going on, like in the news, and
Ooh, let's go.
yeah, I was like thinking maybe we could like apply these four
Sorry,
agreements.
sorry, I apologize.
It's
I won't.
easy to
I'm
get
not going to get
excited.
controversial. Not today. I'll try.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to put these back up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is to be impeccable with your word. So first, A is speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. So just that first part, Farah, be impeccable with your word. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I see that. I see that on the world stage, and I see that in my personal life. So speaking from myself, just personally, I mean, there was, when I was 18 and I went to college, um, I had to take the major that my parents wanted me to take. But, and I just say yes, 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 and just say yes to things that I don't want to do. And now I'm like, oh, I wish I could have a do-over. You know, I wish I could have done that over again. I would have made choices differently because I wouldn't say yes all the time. And on the world stage, I see, you know, people, okay, let's forget about current affairs. Let's just look at history, okay? In the United States, there was a treaty made between the people that came over to United States and the Native Americans. But that treaty wasn't kept. And then war broke out. I hope I'm not getting too controversial.
You can do whatever you want on my channel.
Oh, okay.
I lose subscribers and then I'll gain a couple back the next week. So
Okay. But so I mean, like these treaties that are made or these promises that are made by world leaders and they don't keep their promises can cause a lot of resentment and bitter feelings, you know? In other words, say what you, if you mean yes, then say yes. And if you say yes, then mean yes. If you say no, mean no. And say no, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like that boundaries thing. I mean, people assume, what's the other one? Don't make assumptions.
Right.
You assume that somebody already knows what they should and shouldn't say to you, you know, and we don't. And so that is that is where it begins. In fact, I think he even says in the book that our words are spells, you know, and they cause feelings. And then, you know, I mean, when you're in negative energy attracts negative energy. It
Right.
just, something small can turn into something big. When I think of that first agreement, if I was to think about anything that is kind of trending right now, and again, this is probably controversial and some people might want to click off, but I think of like how we identify with each other. I know that you and I right now are first person. I want to say hi to Amanda. Hi. You and I are first person, so I am addressing you as you and I am me. So not if somebody has a how they want to be identified other than you and me, then I'll respect that because I would be talking about them in a third person. Personally, I would prefer not to have to talk about anybody if they're not there, but I don't see the problem with just, if that's what you want, like you said, say it and it's done. It's done. And I think that it also goes along with, you know, tell the truth.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of things that we do and say with our words. And I used to think too, because I'm not the greatest person with saying exactly how I feel about something, or maybe if I have a point to make. So then the other person can say, okay, well, I don't quite understand that. Can you please reiterate or explain it to where, and then you say, okay, now I finally understand. You don't walk away thinking I didn't understand that. Go ahead and ask questions, because I know I don't say exactly what I mean the first time. If I do, yay, woohoo, you know, but
Right.
sometimes I don't. So I'm trying, but my brain is already on to the next thing that I'm thinking, and I'll skip words. So being impeccable with your word, I don't think means you got to like get it exactly right, but you can always take your time and think about what you're going to say too, you know.
Yeah, it's not easy, and he talks about this. He said that, the majority of the world is living in a dream, and it's a dream that has been passed down from generation to generation, and we've learned it.
Absolutely.
We've learned it from the past generation. So we don't need to blame ourselves. We don't need to judge ourselves.
Absolutely. Julie says there's little integrity in politics or the mass media. Our words are definitely spells. So powerful. Think how much TV has brainwashed people over the decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like today, unlearn everything that you were taught. You know, I mean,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
so what would you? No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just this impeccable with your word. I look I'm 49 years old now, and so have I been like this? Am I the same person I was back then? No. I did a lot of passive aggressive communication. And passive aggressive communication, I mean that if somebody cut in front of me, I'm like, well, obviously you're in a hurry.
Gotcha.
I
Mhm.
instead of say that bothers me.
Yep.
It bothers me that you cut in front of me. Well, somebody's in a hurry.
Yeah, and you know what? We can look at ourselves too. I'm just as bad. I mean, I don't want to be. And it's
Mhm.
like it's if we were all on the same page, it wouldn't be a struggle. I was in a situation where I had to tell somebody how I felt just today, and the other person didn't really like it. So then I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said it. But I tried to be as impeccable with my word, not hurtful, and just say, something the person had said had made me upset. And she's here. Amber, hi. How are
Oh,
you?
good.
Good. How are you? We were supposed to leave. We haven't left yet, so I have like a few minutes to be here. So I was like, let me pop in.
Well, that was perfect timing because I was already ready to put my foot in my mouth. I'm good at that. So, did you just recently read this, The Four Agreements?
Well, I honestly read a synopsis of it.
Okay.
For this.
Yes.
But I had heard about it from so many people. Like so many people talk about it. So many people reference it. It's obviously a really good book. And looking at the synopsis that you have in front of us, it's like it's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's I love this little meme or whatever you want to call it. I found it on Facebook because it
That's perfect.
breaks it down. For those that don't know, Amber Ton is the author of The Art of Creation, The Cosmic Art of Creation.
The Art of Cosmic Creation.
The Art of Cosmic Creation. Yes. So she's one of my friends that is like very, very spiritual, even though she says she doesn't like me calling her a guru. But I wanted to hear, your take on it. And if you find yourself trying to apply these four rules at any time.
Absolutely. Even though I haven't like read that specific book through and through, I am always applying every single one of these things. Every single thing that you have listed here that's in the
Mhm.
book is, I think, the ingredients are really important to living a life that's fully expressed. I always talk about like expressing your soul out into the world around you to be a fully express person, to kind of take what's inside of you and be able to activate it in the world around you, I think is so important. And this is really the essence of it. When I look at number one, like be impeccable with your word,
Mhm.
this is super important on many different levels, because the first in like part of actualizing yourself out in the world, like who you are on the inside, your consciousness, and making it tangible, is learning to trust yourself. So your word, oh, I love that too, Anthony. I can't see the I
I'm gonna
being able to see the comments, but
I'm gonna
oh
do
wait, I
this.
can see them if I do
There we
this.
go.
If I click, now I can see it. Okay, great. Now I can see everyone. Um, is that I know it goes into also talking about other people, but also about yourself. When you tell yourself that you're gonna do something, many of us have a hard time you know, saying you're going to do something and then you don't do it. That's usually the usual, right? And
Yes.
then what happens is you get into this cycle, the subconscious cycle of not trusting yourself. So no matter what you say, you already anticipate that you won't fulfill that. And you become really unreliable to yourself. So that first point is super important. And then also, you know, thinking about everything as vibration, and talking about, you know, the law of vibration and the law of attraction, and the kind of way that wavelength that you're vibrating on is attracting everything else at that wavelength, at that frequency, to you. So if you're constantly talking about the negative, looking in the negative of other people, looking at the negative in situations, then that's what you're going to notice, what you're going to focus on more, and what it's going to create more of that vibration, things at that level. So when you're talking about other people, you know, behind their back
Yeah.
or about them, you know, it's think about it for a moment. Is this something that I would like said about me? And is it helpful? Is it constructive in some way? Or is it not? Is it creating more chaos, more entropy, more, is it deconstructive? And
Yeah.
then you just kind of want to get a little more intentional, I would say, at the beginning, just like the four agreements, because we have to like all these things are skills. And then after a while, it becomes automatic and subconscious. So I really I- like everything that you had up there.
Uh-huh.
I apply that.
Absolutely.
Hey,
I
Amber. Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Hi,
There's,
Farah, by the
there's,
way.
hi.
I
It's
love
nice
that
to
name.
actually talk to you one on one.
Yeah.
What you just said, he literally says it in the book. He says,
There you
you
go.
go against yourself if you're not impeccable with your word,
Yes.
you know? So, and not to go against yourself.
Can you show me that line? Actually, that was interesting. Can you show me that line that you said? It says, a sin is anything you do which goes against yourself. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's what it
Wonderful.
is.
Nova says, for me, it's just impossible to tell the truth to my parents when it hurts. And I think I will keep it that way. They are seniors and very sensitive. Do you think I'm doing the wrong thing? Oh, wow.
Well, it, it goes like this. Like, I think there's actually, could you put the four agreements up
I
again?
sure
'Cause
can.
I'll
Yes.
speak to it. Um, okay, great. So that's the second thing with not taking anything personally. So there was this thing that Byron Katie said before. I was watching her. Yeah, you like her too, right? Something like you have to, it's like this this daughter was talking about her mother. I'm trying to remember it. And she said something to the effect of, can you forgive your mother for not being the way you want her to be, just
Mm.
like you're not the way she wants you to be. And it's kind of that thing that we're all different and we all see the world differently, and that it says what others say and do is a projection of their own reality. So
Yeah.
what your parents say and do, and how they think that you should be living your life, is a projection of their reality and what they were taught in their conditioning, what is good, what is right, and when they think that certain things are going to be beneficial to you as they were taught, they try desperately to push it onto you because that is, they feel they're doing good for you. So you kind of have to say that to yourself, that I forgive you for not being the way that I want you to be, because I'm also doing the same thing. And just to know not to take it personally, that everything that they say is a projection of their reality. So it's not about telling the truth, but it's going to be kind of like finding a common ground between both of you. Like, what is it? So it's like, here's me. I wish I had a Venn diagram in front of me, and and here's them, and here are the things that are separate. Where can we find common ground and concentrate and focus here instead of on the outside there? Um, so so it's not that you can't tell them the truth, but maybe you have to find that common language to speak to them in that way, or like topics or ways that you can connect, and kind of stay off of the ways that you don't connect, and just accept them for who they are, and then you just live by example.
That, and I don't think we honestly have to go to everybody and go, okay, I feel this way about this. I feel,
Right.
hey, guess what? I
Right.
feel this way. There are certain things that, you know, maybe they don't need to know the truth if it is something that's going to hurt them. And I mean, I don't really know. I'm thinking I can kind of understand what she's saying, is that
Mhm.
if there's a harsh reality that really makes no difference whether they know or not. You know what I mean? If it's something that maybe they have no control over, so there's nothing that, because again, have control over their person, and that's it. They are their own sovereign, like, they're responsible for everything about them, not you. And same as, you're only responsible for yourself. So it's like, do I have to tell that person the truth, or does it matter really if I tell them that? Maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, I always try to think to myself, if I say this, will it be constructive?
That, yeah,
Will it reduce chaos? Will
yeah.
it help to create something new and better? Or if I say this, is it going to deconstruct the relationship in front of me? And that's a question that I use with myself.
Yeah.
I love that your common ground is food. That is awesome. You can, you know, I don't know what you do together, but, go out to dinner together, cook together,
Hmm.
share recipes together. There's so many great ways to bond. Um, that's an awesome idea.
So Amanda says, my dad is pretty religious. He had me blocked on Facebook for showing tarot cards. We're okay now. I told him I'd throw them away.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I get that. I get that. I understand that.
I do too.
Do you want to speak to that, Carla? I know you definitely
I've had that
experienced
before.
that.
Yes. I I can understand, but I'm at the point in my life where I know enough, I guess, about the spiritual aspect to where I can explain it in a religious manner, that usually somebody that if they don't actually know the text, then there's not much they can come back at me with. So I prefer to be like, I understand that, but can I show you? I don't know if that's my ego, but I don't. It's like, mm, I guess I just don't let that bother me anymore. You know what I mean? Someone else saying that they think that is evil, because that was the whole reason that I would never touch tarot. And so for somebody to think that I just, I don't care if it's evil, you know what I mean? It's like they don't really know me then if they thought I was just, and that's their own projection of me, or projection of them, the projection of themselves, or whatever you want to call that. It's not, it doesn't really have anything to do with me, because I already know me, and I already know that tarot is nothing evil, and in fact it's very spiritual. So it does not matter if somebody else has that opinion. With it being your father, like, if even if my mother, like, I explained to her, I care so much about her, and I care about our relationship, that I explained to her. Somebody else, I would probably be like, meh, they think I'm evil, they think I'm evil. You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
Yes.
it's pretty much
It-
exactly like that.
And so the other thing too, it goes to number 4. It talks about always do your best. But the thing is that he talks about, he's like, where'd it go? He's like, on this page. Yeah. He's like, your best will change. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. Your best will change over time. And that you don't have to feel, you don't have to judge yourself. Some days your best will be great, and some days your best will not be so great. And
Yep.
that's okay. You know?
Absolutely. I think that's awesome, because the fourth agreement kind of sums everything up. It is because we're all at different stages, and like Julie had said earlier, if you don't actually have that book to refer to every minute, sometimes we're not thinking about, okay, I'm going to apply the 4 agreements here, and we just react,
Yeah.
or we're like experiencing a little bit too much negative energy, and we react. And then we step back and go, oh, darn it. Darn it. I'll do better next time. Definitely.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think thinking back to the question that you have, or not the question, the statement that you're saying, twisted sushi. I when you think of it, when people are religious, and there's what it is it's fear, He's
Yes.
scared. He's scared. And when he sees, because he's looking out from those what he's been taught, right? And that he has a fear around the tarot cards, because he believes they're, as you said, like they're evil,
Hmm.
or they're wrong in some way. So you could think of it in that way, that you, as his child, uh he's scared for his child, and you can have compassion for that,
Oh, I
right?
love that you said that. Oh my
Like,
God.
my dad is scared for his child. It means he really does, yeah, he really does love me, and he really
Absolutely.
just wants to protect me. And you can have compassion and love for that. And then when
Oh,
you rearrange it in your head in that way, you see, my parent really does love me, and he's really doing going back to the best that he can at this moment, in the way that he can protect me. And that's really great. And then at the same time, there may be a time, maybe not, because you always have to, as a teacher, we always say meet the student or the person, whoever you're with, where they are, not where you are. If you want to form a connection, if you want to communicate, that when and if you feel that he's ready, you can say, look, Dad, wanted to talk to you about this, and that these cards are actually not, you could talk to them on the psychological, like they're used in psychology. It's like ink blot pictures, that it's actually just cardboard with ink on it. There's nothing evil about it. It's just used in, and here's some ways that people use them. We look and tell a story and see what that reveals about the subconscious, and it's a tool to work with your
yeah.
subconscious. And if
Yep.
you can meet them on that and be like, and that's why I like it, you know, maybe he would understand it. But then again, maybe not. And it all depends on the deck if there's occult symbology on it that he sees that's scaring him, you know, but just going at it, finding like where can we connect? Where is that place where we could come together? And then focusing in on that and then keeping, you know, everything else that you like, you know, separate. He doesn't have to be in that
Right.
part of your world.
Yep.
Hey, Amber, I look, I'm going to make an assumption. You read the book because he literally talks about.
That's really funny.
He
I literally never
talks
read
about
the book.
He literally talks about fear.
That is so funny. I literally never read that book
Yep.
yet before, but these ideas, I have read plenty of, you know, Byron Katie. I've read plenty of so many books. Debbie Ford, Buddha, you know, all
Yeah,
that
you have the
stuff.
basic
It's all
concept
interwoven, right?
of how to treat people.
How to treat people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how
Yeah.
to treat yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're always in our mind, and one of the things that I learned, and he talks about this, our mind has all of these voices in our head, and there's what's a Aztec word for it, but I can't pronounce it, but it's like when all of these voices are talking at the same time, and who's listening, you know?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Definitely. Well, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you finally popped on. Absolutely, yes.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
It's so nice to meet you, Farah. I've never met you before.
Oh yeah, I'm really glad that I got a chance to talk to you too.
so if you guys have not subscribed, please subscribe to Farah Nadila's channel and Amber Tawn.
I'm going to subscribe right now.
Excellent. And Amber has her channel now that is just Amber Tawn,
Yes.
right?
Yes. The content will be coming in the summer, but I'm typing in Farah's name just so I remember too, because I'm subscribing now. Subscribe. There we go. Awesome. So yeah, I do on my channel, everything's coming this summer. My current channel, you know, it was kind of like my personal journey, and now I'm going into just sharing it. So if you'd like to follow me on my new channel, it's Amber Tawn.
I'll do it after this. I'll do it after the live stream.
It's also I think I put it in the description. I'll have to check. If not, it's on my post, community post.
Cool.
I put the Amber Tawn instead of the lavender moon. So
thank you.
yes, because you have some really good stuff coming up, and you have a course that you're going to be sharing.
I do. I have a course that I've been developing for the past 2 years. I've ran some groups through it and making adjustments. It's called Live Your Light Academy. And finally, the final version will be coming out in the summer too. So I won't talk about it too much now, but in the summer I will.
I'm excited. I'm excited because, you know, like Farah had asked me, she's like, so, you know, I just went through this book again. And I'm like, I didn't get a chance to. I've already read the book, but and I have the 4 agreements. But when I'm applying the 4 agreements, like I said, it's a lot, anything that might cause some negativity. And it's usually if somebody is saying something that obviously is a projection of their own, what they have going on, but they're still directing it at you. So it could be like when you're driving or for me, a lot when I'm driving, at the grocery store, say everybody's in a hurry, or sometimes even on YouTube, you know, you might see something where you just might not agree with what the person's saying. And especially with, like we talked about earlier, these things that are trending in politics. It's like, I say politics only because the politicians are getting involved, and then you have the right and the left, and it's like everybody is divided over issues that you see again on Facebook or TikTok or and I'm like, man, there's so much other stuff to be concerned about, and we're divided over these. Not that they're not important, but I think that we can find common ground.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a huge, I feel like it's more than any time that I remember, this polarization and this division.
Me
And he
too.
talks about too, he says, when you feel like you're about to, there we go. When you feel like you're about to start making, I can't.
Oh,
Oh no. What happened?
wrong one. There we go. Do that again.
Okay. When you feel, oh, there we go. When you feel like you're starting to make assumptions, ask questions.
Yeah.
It's very helpful to ask questions.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I
Absolutely.
totally agree. I learned, that was like a huge lesson that I had to learn in my life, is that when someone says something, don't assume that you understand what they mean. It's like, especially if you're like triggered by it or
Mhm.
something like that, instead of just reacting, you can just ask them more.
Yep.
I totally had to learn that when I was younger. I
And
would
when you
assume a
ask,
lot in my life.
you ask, you don't accuse. Because that's the other thing. You're like, I know that was about me. It's like,
Yeah. Or even that you
ugh.
know what they meant by it, or why, what was
Mhm.
their like motivation. It can be totally different than what you thought it was.
Mhm. Yeah, you took that little statement and now it's this big old thing because it's like a snowball. It just has that snowball effect.
Yeah. For sure.
Whereas if you just said, was that can I ask, was that directed at me? I mean, and then that gives the other person a chance to explain, you know.
Yeah, exactly what it was. And most times it's just a total misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
I found in my
Absolutely.
life.
Julie says, I've had such troubles with making assumptions. I have to catch myself. Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
I find it a lot with the kids, actually.
My
I'm a
goodness.
teacher, so there's a lot of like, I'm upset because so and so like doesn't like me or something. And then I really have to be like, what made you think that so and so didn't? Because when they took the pencil, they looked the other way and whatever, whatever. And what did you make that mean? Oh, it's obvious they didn't. Okay, well, let's ask the other person and see. So it's like all about meaning making. I don't know if this is in the Four Agreements, but I learned it from Debbie Ford. So I actually know where I first learned meaning making is that our brains are constructed in a way to make meaning. And that's how we form our schema. That's how we understand the world around us. So something happens, an event happens, and we have to make it mean something. Our brains just automatically do that. So based on like whatever you learned early enough, like before the age of 5, like those patterns or those like algorithms, you could even call it that you will take and categorize information um, to fit into that schema. So when something happens, like let's say you walk into a room and someone you say, "Oh, how are you doing?" and they like don't answer you. Like let's say at work and they keep doing what they're doing. You could automatically make that mean that they're annoyed with you or they don't like you or something about you.
Mhm.
And I've had to learn to stop myself and say, what else could that mean? Or what other meaning could it be?
Mhm.
And in this particular example that I'm thinking of, because I actually did this, maybe this means that they're having a tough time in this moment and
Yes.
something's wrong. Maybe it has nothing to do with me.
Absolutely.
And then instead of me getting annoyed at that person or avoiding them or walking away, I might walk over and be like, "Is everything okay? Can I help
Yeah.
you with anything?" And
Showing
then they say,
compassion
"Oh,
instead
yeah,
of
I had a terrible morning, you know, so
Mhm.
and so was sick and this happened to my pet and, you
Yep.
know, this and this." And then you realize, like, you could have gone in a totally different direction and just
Mhm.
assumed that
Yep.
they didn't like you, that they were mad at you. You could have ruined your whole day and been in a mood and
Yep.
treated them differently, and then them feeling like, "Oh, I'm having this horrible day. This happened to my pet or my child or something, and now this person's, like, not talking to me for some reason," and it keeps building more and more chaos.
Mhm.
So that, like, meaning making and being like, well, what could be a more empowering meaning in this moment, something that would empower me or be constructive? Let me try that meaning out
Yep.
and see what
Try everything to yeah, so that you don't keep the negativity going. It's like you can be the one to stop it.
yes,
And
right then and there.
that's where these 4 agreements are gold. And imagine, the more you share them and the more people that are just even like that meme, if we have something like that that we can remind ourselves, um, and everybody's doing it, we're gonna get to a point where everybody's
Yeah,
just like, "I love you. I love you,"
exactly.
you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Someday, I mean, I think it's possible,
I
you
I
know?
do too. Over some time, I think we're all I think, like, all this polarization and stuff is actually just part of our collective evolution, that
yeah.
Mhm.
paradigms are breaking down and, like, w human consciousness in a whole is just trying to find its way between the old and the new and what's real and what's not real anymore and new things and seeing new things in new ways. And I think that it's a reflection of what goes on inside of us in our individual lives. Is that, like, sometimes we learn new things or we start to see the world in different ways and we're like, oh, my old ideas don't really work
Yeah.
out, but maybe I'm scared if they don't work. And we have that internal struggle and we're just seeing it play out on a larger scale.
Mhm. I agree with that, and I love that because I know my whole mindset has changed over the last couple of years. Um, Nova says the good thing about asking is if you were correct, and even if you were assuming, you're still asking.
Mhm.
Were they if they were being abusive in any form, if it was directed at you, she says they will get very uncomfortable. And I've been in situations like that, and it is the truth. Then they kind of like, oh crap, they start to think maybe if they're not, if they didn't really mean what they said, it just came out. Yeah, it kind of puts them on the spot a little bit and then they can explain a little better. I've been in the shoes of the person going, "Did you?" And you have to explain. You have to, you're accountable for yourself. And you can't just go around just, somebody that knows the 4 agreements is going to be like, "Hey, can we have a talk?"
Right.
Hallelujah. Yes. Yes, we can have a talk.
There's a story in the book where it's probably the most basic story where it's this mom and she's a single mom. She comes home and and she's just had a rough day and her daughter's running around singing like she's Celine Dion or
My
Beyonce
goodness.
or something.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And her mom's like, "Will you stop it? You're being annoying.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your voice."
Yeah.
And the girl takes it personally and assumes that her voice is terrible
Hmm.
and is annoying. And it shuts her down as she grows up and she becomes until later on that she realizes that she's got a lot of good things to say and she's got actually a pretty good singing voice.
Yeah. And it's like I'm really fascinated and drawn to shadow work. I think that's how we deal with those childhood issues. And so that's another reason that when Farah says, uh, "You need to read this book," I was just like, yeah, oh my gosh. It goes along. It helps you with the shadow work. It helps you to realize that, You know, the way that person is treating you has nothing to do with you. The way that person is treating you has everything to do with them. It's all about them and nothing about you. We can ask questions because just like you had said, Amber, maybe they're having a tough day and it is the compassion that they need. If it's not, you're going to know right away whether they want you to be asking questions. And then if not, you just kind of like, okay, then, either walk away or just let them reach out to you when they're ready, because unfortunately we have a lot of times in our lives where we're not getting along with someone or even I've seen it in our YouTube community, someone will say something that was either they thought it was about them or whatever. We take things personal. Any type of social media platform, we take things personal. And these 4 agreements tell you, don't do that no more. And it's like when you stop doing that, then it makes it easier to even scroll through Facebook if you want to read something. If somebody says something derogatory towards you or hurtful, it's like, you know what? Especially even if it's a stranger, then it's like you can be like, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. It's all about them. And believe me, everyone will be accountable at one point in their lives. We'll all be accountable for everything that we've said or done. Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but something is going to be because we spread a little negativity, because it does come back to you somehow. Sometimes it's in our bodies. Health, I think, is a big one.
That's
Sure.
that's another thing. I'm just going to keep referring to the book.
Yeah, please.
Where is it? Right here. Oh, crap. Okay, there we go. It says we create emotional toxicity or emotional poison when we take things personally.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. I know, like I was telling you, I had to tell that person that something they had said the day before. I carried it with me for 24 hours. And it's like, as soon as I was saying it, I was reliving the feeling over again. But then once it was out, it was out. And it's like now amends are taken. It wasn't really anything major, but it's like part of the reason I had to really do shadow work is because I carried things inside. So it's like, even if something at that point wasn't like a dig or something that was meant to tick me off, it's like certain things were triggering because of all that baggage I was carrying around. It's like somebody would say something and I would just carry that with me. I'm like, it's okay. I love you. That toxic positivity or whatever you want to call it. It's like, yeah, okay, I know you. But I'm carrying it, so I had to learn to start communicating if I was upset about something. And there are ways to communicate without being hurtful.
Mhm.
But
Where's my donuts?
yeah.
I'm going to say just for one of the comments before I go, because I have to run, but Anthony
Yes.
said, I suffer from chronic ADD. I'm always getting the meaning of things wrong. It's awful. I would say for you, what can help? I work with a lot of, children with ADD, ADHD. And basically, one of the greatest things that you could do that I think is great for everyone, because I think we all have a little of, attention issues with computers and with iPhones. I think I think all of us have that, is just getting it out on taking time to process your thoughts by getting it out on paper. So if you can get away and write it down actually on the paper, like, what was my assumption, and write it down. How did I feel? This is how I felt. What other meaning could I make? Can I see this in a more empowering way? And see if you could brainstorm that. And also sometimes we can try to put ourselves on the paper in that person's position. And we could think, like, going back to the father who, wouldn't talk to their child because of the tarot, put themselves within their perspective of seeing it as evil, of being scared that their child's soul is in danger, whatever it is that they may be thinking, and see if you can find a common ground or some sort of understanding of compassion there, if it's possible, and see what other meaning you could take from it.
That's excellent.
So yeah, paper, if you have ADD, ADHD, just getting things on paper, and I do it anyway also, putting things on paper to process it.
I have a question for you, Amber. If I'd asked you before, how old are the children that you teach?
Anywhere from kindergarten to 5th grade.
Okay. So I know that there's certain behaviors that are very recognizable, I'm sure, as being adolescent. So do you see that in adults? And if you do, what is your reaction? Like, do you have a reaction?
What do you mean by adolescent? Like,
oh, adolescent, like we're trying to apply 4 agreements to something. So like, you have your people that might go into a store, or in the school, you have bullies, people that just like will make fun of other people. And it comes from something they're dealing with. But yet as a child, you're like, oh yeah, no, you're that, Do you ever see that in adults? Maybe on a different level, but it's still kind of the same thing.
Yes, that's kind of like a complicated answer because kids are in different stages of intellectual development. And so like they're in different stages where they can't really fully understand the other person's position because it's not developmentally there for them. And even if you explain it to them, they can't fully get there yet, depending on their age, because that's just how their brain is still forming and they're still creating those connections. But oh, you're so welcome, Anthony. But in adults, sometimes there can be like an arrested development intellectually, or I mean emotionally.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
Trauma. So if they went through a very severe trauma at a certain age, they can be mentally or emotionally stuck in that age.
Yes.
So that can happen. Or people do have the capacity, but it all depends on their energy in the moment. Like if they're low energy, tired, and they're like in survival mode, so they go into fight or flight because their needs aren't being met, or maybe they had too much caffeine and they're running on zero and they've got a million things going on and they're overwhelmed. So that's like a complicated answer. So like many things can affect that, and then they'll just default to just reaction.
So just knowing that right there, that's one of the main reasons I had asked, because I know you see that type of behavior because they're adolescents. And I've seen adults act like that. And the first thing you want to do is judge them and go, really? You're an adult. But yet maybe there's something else going on. I had read a post. I have over 1,000 friends on Facebook, and I had read a post where a heavier girl had been in a restaurant, and somebody like hollered across the restaurant, and just totally tore her down. Okay. So, and she's like mortified, and she posted about it. And I thought, wow, unfortunately that does happen. And imagine her mindset on how she's receiving that. It mortified her. But if she was thinking about, I know it sounds cliche, but the 4 agreements, and to realize that that had nothing to do with her, because even if you're overweight, I'm a chunky monkey. But does that mean I'm a bad person? Does it mean no, of course not. And we know who we are. We have to know who we are, and we have to love ourselves, because someone else's opinion of us or how they see us, or again, maybe their brain isn't firing at the level it should be for their age.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true.
So it has everything to do with them and not you. And it's like, I couldn't begin to say how to react or to say anything back to the person. I think if it was me, I'd have just ignored them. But that's something that I could be like, yeah, okay, I don't even know this person. They don't know me. I'll be like, have a wonderful day, guy. And I hope, you know what I mean? Or thinking in my head, I hope you have a wonderful day. But that kind of behavior is kind of what I was thinking about when I'm talking about this, how we're divided, and when people are arguing over politics, and you have a left and you have a right, and the right says,
And social issues.
yeah, and then the left says, well, you're, and the things that they say to each other, I'm like, I don't want to be right or left.
Right. Yeah.
I just want to be in the middle.
Yes.
But pretty soon it's going to be like, you middle guys,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. Let's get the 4 agreements. Let's post them somewhere so that they got the, going across the sky on an airplane or something.
Exactly. I guess the last thing I'll say before I run is, I think in that situation and these sorts of situations, like someone screaming something out in public that's inappropriate, you'd have 2 different ways to deal with it. Like, it's like, one, you're going to deal with the issue as it's in front of you in the present moment. And then also, like, how are you going to process it later for yourself?
Yes.
So in the present moment, you may have to set a boundary. If someone's like attacking you, or someone's screaming something out at a public restaurant, you may have to, call. First of all, I always ask myself, what's the most constructive way for me to establish it, for me to deal with this issue? Would getting into a screaming match with this person be constructive for my own health and everything? Maybe not. However, maybe is letting them go being constructive also? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to walk over to the manager and say someone's disrupting me, in that table. I'm just going to think to myself, like, what's the most constructive way so that I am, yes, I'm standing up for myself, and I'm not reacting, but I'm addressing the situation in a constructive way. That person's getting feedback on their end. I'm also addressing my own boundaries. And then later, okay, that really triggered me. That was very hurtful. How can I process this in a way that's going to be really constructive for myself? So what meaning could I make from this? Either that there's something wrong with me, I'm fat, or whatever it is, I'm worthless. You could go down that route, but that's not going to be constructive for you. And that we're all consciousness, and your body is not has nothing to do with that. So you'll look at it in a way and say, well, where does that person have to be in order to feel so emotionally triggered by looking at me that they needed to scream it out in a public restaurant? What thoughts, what thought level does that person have to be on for them to be able to have that behavior, and their intent, and where does that come from? And we're getting ready to go to the car, but so, like, those 2 ways of processing it, one, addressing the moment as it is in the now, and then also processing it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think before the 4 agreements, I would have said something like, if I was your mother, young man, I'd have put you over my knee for being a bully.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I already know.
Right. All right, I have to run. We're getting ready to get in the car. I wish everyone a happy Easter for those who are celebrating it.
Yes.
Happy Pesach for those who are celebrating it. Happy Ostara. I know the official day ended, but you know, it's spring season. So happy Eid, which is coming up for everyone who celebrates. And thank you for having me, Carla. It's
Oh,
really
thank
great
you
to meet you,
so
Farah.
much.
It was
Thank you
nice
so
to meet
much.
you too.
I subscribe to your channel. I'm
I'll
excited.
do your. I'll check your. I'll subscribe yours just in a minute after we're done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope to meet you again soon.
Same.
Be safe, dear.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. I want to put up here what Kelly put up here. She says, Congress, the biggest daycare with no adults to run it. Ooh,
So
you know,
true.
I've had this
So
conversation with friends. I think you've probably one of them, where it's like you can get into politics with great intentions, but I couldn't imagine being there for the long haul.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that would be corrupt. How could you not become corrupt? But yeah. Oh yes, yeah, I agree. I was being very vague, you know, because I didn't want to call anybody out, but I think that kind of stuff happens a lot.
Yeah. And he talks about this. This is there's just like a group mentality, and it's like it's the dream of the world that people have, and you buy into it. You buy into the dream of the reality, and it and one of the things too, when Amber was talking, it reminded me of this part where he says, where is it? This one. Oh yeah. Wait. Oh shoot. Is it that one? Yeah, it's this one. It says we need every bit of our energy, every bit of our power to follow these agreements.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's not easy.
No, it's not. In fact, with the last one again being the always do your best.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're gonna fall. We're
Yeah.
absolutely gonna fall. We could be the one on the other end that is causing the negativity because we had a bad day and we just, you know, wasn't thinking about something we said. So I mean, but as
Yeah.
soon as you realize it, you have a chance to make up for it.
Yeah.
Did you notice that he has a book called The Fifth Agreement?
I know. I have not read that.
I haven't either.
I always have a like. Well, now I make assumptions about sequels.
Yeah.
So bad. But yeah, I mean, I may listen to it or read it, you know.
Well, I've got the summary and it says be skeptical but learn to listen. So it's like don't believe yourself or anybody else unconditionally. I like that because and he says use the power of doubt to question everything you hear. Is it really the truth? Listen to the intent behind the words and you will understand the real message. It's kind of like what we were just talking about. It's like, you know, obviously if the bully is saying something, you know, there's something behind that message and it has everything to do with that person. It has nothing to do with you. So the message is that he is in a bad place. The bully's in a bad place. And it also kind of goes along with like when you hear something in the media, don't assume it's 100% true. My guess is usually there's something else going on and the media is going to keep you distracted because they're a paid resource, you know, when it comes to politics or, you know, keeping us herded so that we're not overreacting, you know. So yeah, I question everything. I follow links. I just that way, you know, I'm not gonna see a meme and go, oh my gosh. No, I'm gonna follow the links and see if maybe there's some truth to it, you know.
But I mean, Amber was so right because there's a motivation of or a force of fear that people have.
Oh, yes.
And so and the the Congress, they have this fear. They have this fear that, and now I've come to believe that it's a fear of like, can I keep my paycheck? And so I'll do whatever I can to keep my paycheck. you know
And you're probably correct. I mean, again, we can say that. And my guess is that, and again, I'm guessing that
Right.
85% of the people that are in a position like that, I'm going to assume is correct. I should not assume, but that's because I don't know them personally. But, we can assume that that is the case because we don't know them. But maybe someday we might meet one of them and have a chance to talk to them. And believe me, I would love if anybody that has a powerful seat like that is able to make a decision for me in any manner, they should have their public life on display so that I know what kind of person I'm putting there.
Right.
Wouldn't
I
it be
mean,
great?
it's funny because I talking to you about this. I was saying something about like, wouldn't it be interesting if they all had their own YouTube channel or their
Oh,
own
yeah, or that.
TikToks?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Because then you could like really get to know them a little bit more.
Thank you,
Oh,
Ann.
bye, Anthony. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I think, and it's so weird because we're all sitting here like in our own rooms, and then we only get like little bits of people's information,
Yeah.
little bits of what people are like. And so the only people we really know are our families,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I have Republican and Democrat like always around me. So I mean, I always have these two different views. I will say that my youngest daughter is liberal, but she does have conservative views. So um, I'm way in the middle, and my other half is very conservative. So it's like I don't take what one says as, I just try to look up stuff and see, what I can find out. And even then, I know that could change tomorrow. So
yeah,
that his new book, or I don't think it's new. It was
it was probably published years ago. Because if the
probably 2018, maybe
okay
17.
okay
No, 2009. 2009. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna take a look at it. But I like that because I don't take anything at face value.
right.
Nope.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I had neighbors who were very hard or very what oh nice to meet oh okay I had neighbors that were very very much into politics, and they were very much leaning they were extreme in their political views. And because they were extreme in their political views, and I feel like I'm a little bit more moderate, I thought it would be fun to just to debate them, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
and and it was the weirdest thing because you would I mean, they had the t-shirts, they had the pins, they had all the stuff, and you would think that we would eventually completely despise each other because I did not hold back. I mean, I would throw every argument against what they were saying, but it was the coolest thing because they would be like, "Okay, have a nice evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow."
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing.
When I worked in the factory, So I think there was about 50 people, I think, that worked in the factory with me. It was a smaller factory.
Mm-hmm.
I had one fellow, without even asking me if I was Dem or Republican, just assumed I was very conservative just from talking to me. And then I had another fella that just assumed I was very liberal just from talking to me. They never really asked. They just assumed,
Right.
you know, until I actually would tell each one of them, okay, I might have shared some information about which way I voted. And I only shared certain information with the one, you know, like what kind of gelled with that person. And then I would only share information with the other one that kind of gelled with that person, unless I knew I could have a healthy debate with somebody. Then I would have a healthy debate with somebody. But politics are so volatile, you know, that I just learned over a period of time what I could say to certain people just by feeling them out and what I couldn't. And it was back then, I figured it was okay to not be forthcoming with my beliefs. Now I am definitely in the middle, and I'll shout it. I'm in the middle. I'm not either, because I can see both views, you know.
And I don't think that goes against being impeccable with your word, because when I speak my word, you know, I'm saying what I think, but I don't have to say everything I think.
That's true.
I don't have to tell everybody everything.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's not necessary. Do you need to know about my bathroom habits? No.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So there's, overall, it's just, the 4 agreements came to me, I don't know, probably about 3 months ago. And overall, it has saved me from some bad things, because the reason I know this is because if I would have had that type of armor to help me, you know, I'm 53. You'd think I would just know, but I thought what I was doing at the time was correct. So it's like, regardless of, you know, who was to blame for whatever fallouts in the past, we all play our parts in them. So when you realize that you're responsible for yourself, it doesn't matter what the other person does or says. You are responsible for how you handle that situation, and don't think you aren't. It is never just someone else's fault. And that helps take the animosity out of dealing with, you know, other people, because we're only human. We're all only human. And at least I know I was practicing the 4th agreement, you know. So if I'd have had these 4 agreements before, I think that I could have actually saved myself from some losses that I've had in my life. Doesn't mean that I think that any, like I said, the other people that have, there's been losses in my life, they were just as to blame for their shit as I was for mine. But I'm taking responsibility for my stuff so that I don't, so I try to do better every day. So, and, you know, like we talked about with Carol, forgiveness,
Yeah.
you know, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest one. Forgive yourself, because again, you're only human.
Yeah.
You know, and the past is the past. Kind of like the Eckhart Tolle, you know, that's the past.
Yeah.
Live in the now, deal with the now. Be present.
I'm so glad that you were found value in the 4 agreements. I'm so glad that people came on, and like,
me too.
Nova, I know her time zone is different, and I know Julia's time zone is different. And so they're like on the other side of the world somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, and it's probably pretty late.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like closer to bedtime or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's valuable, you know. Chiron and Aries. Oh, Julia, you had asked about Chiron and Aries. Chiron stays in Aries for a long time, and that's why there's like a bigger chunk of the population that'll have Chiron and Aries. So it's a strange thing. Like there'll be, if you were to look at it. What does that say?
I just seen this. She says, so to be sure of our world, we would have to be sure of ourselves. Absolutely. I think so.
Yeah.
Becoming self-aware is like a big deal. It's a big deal. Uh-oh. I'm sure she'll be right back. There she
we're
is.
back.
There you are.
Okay. But yeah, Chiron stays in Aries for a long time, and that's why there's a big chunk of the population that has Chiron in Aries. And but yeah, what was somebody else said something. Did Twisted Sushi say something?
Yes. She said, so to be sure of our word, we would have to be sure of ourselves.
Yeah.
I think I said world, but yes, word.
Right. And that's not easy to do. You know, it's like that old Greek philosopher says, know thyself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because and that's kind of a catch-22, because if we're constantly changing and we're becoming somebody different, then how can you actually know no, just kidding.
It's the truth though, because that's I've done a lot of changing, and it's not that I'm not any different, because I'm still that person that cares deeply and wants to help, but I'm working very hard to keep my ego in check. It's not that I am mad that I have an ego or whatever. I don't, but my ego is, I'm recognizing more when it's my ego or it's my consciousness, because it's like the ego has something to prove. Okay. The ego has something to prove. And so, you want other people to know. You need to know this about me. That's the ego. No, know yourself. You need to know this about yourself.
Right.
I wanted to say something about that Chiron and Aries. You realize that I think you did my Western. So like my Western Chiron is in Aries, but in Real Sky, my Chiron is in Pisces. And I looked up what it means to have both, or you know what I mean? And both of them are like, they fit, but it's like I can tell if somebody's lying, obviously. And I'm very, I struggle with the spiritual stuff, not with my inner self, but trusting what is out there. I don't trust the text. I trust my downloads from the universe.
Yeah. So Chiron and Aries will be more of like who you'll forever be asking the question, who am I? And who am I? What am I? All of these types of things. And Chiron and Pisces will be more of asking the question like, what is out there? What's how can I understand the spiritual world?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The Chiron and Aries, I had read that that's like you feel the need to master everything that you come across.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes that is so, but it's more of a I guess it would go back to the Pisces thing, is I want to explore anything spiritual before I say, nope, that don't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So Amanda says, yeah, that's hard. So that's where staying quiet helps, I suppose. I get imbalanced one way or the other. How old are you, Amanda? Just curious. I think that when I look back at my 20s, if I was to hear myself talking now, I'd be like
Right?
30s, I'd have been going, okay, yeah. But I'm really busy and I want to rock and roll. And, I got a lot of stuff to do. I ain't got time for that. 40s was, oh yeah, that's when things were starting to like, I was on this path right here. But that's like, it's like when you really start, practicing what you preach is more like I could preach and preach and preach and preach, but I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And then it's like, then I started practicing when I was preaching, and that's when I started making all the mistakes.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. I mean, it's tough. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a complete mess in my 20s. And then it was my 30s that I had to fall and get up and fall and get up and fall and get up. And yeah, now in my 40s, I'm starting to feel like, okay, maybe I have a little understanding. Maybe I'm a little good, So yeah. Well, I think
we evolve.
what?
We evolve.
Yeah. Twisted, I think it was Twisted Sushi. She was talking about like becoming imbalanced and balanced. There's this symbol and it's called the unalome. So it starts as a spiral and it does a spiral where it zigzags back and forth, left and right, until finally the spiral the thing becomes less and less until it becomes a line. And that's the pathway of our life.
Wow.
Does that kind of make sense?
I mean, that's a pretty drawing.
But it's like we start here.
Uh-huh.
We start here. Where am I going? And then we go
makes
back
sense.
and we weave back and forth. And
It makes sense.
yeah. So we do the highs and lows
Oh, sorry.
when we're younger, and then the highs and lows become less and less as we get older.
So it's kind of like almost like when you drop a rock into the water and it starts doing this, and then it takes a while for it to
settle down.
But it's nice and calm at first, and then stuff happens, and
yeah,
and that drawing, like what I could see is like, we're learning, we're taking everything in, and then we start to apply it, and it takes a while for the things that we're learning to like gel with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. I think that's a really good way of interpreting it. Yeah.
I'm 31. I just mean I either talk too much because I'm excited like now, or not at all other times. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I definitely, but yeah, I mean, it's, geez, I feel you there, and I'm 53. So
I have a lot of hope for the people that are younger than us. I feel like the 30s, 20 years old, I think that they've got more wisdom than you and me.
My daughter, like I said, she's 20.
Yeah.
And she's very self-aware. And I think that's the key. I really do. I think that's the key, because the more you look at yourself, the more you really look at yourself and how you affect other people, and then hold yourself accountable for everything, is the more that you're conscious of everything, the more you're going to receive from the universe, because you're going to realize things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She's also a psychology student, when it kind of helps, I guess.
Well, I'll say this. I've said it a million times. I think, the fact that we had limited resources when we were younger,
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree with that because you're what would we say? 3.5 hours away from me, 4 hours.
Yeah. You're like the next state over. Yeah.
And if we hadn't had social media or YouTube or none of that, you'd still be over there and we'd have never met.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm very thankful. I think that as much as, things that we see could divide us if we let it, there's a lot of good from it too. And even my daughter, my middle daughter, Faith, she was like, I think if people just got off their phones, and I do not disagree with that. But I also see the light too. I think that it's been wonderful.
Well, I think it's like Twisted Sushi was saying, that we've gotta find the balance.
Yes.
We've definitely gotta find balance, and a little bit of unplugging, a little bit of plugging. That's
Mhm.
why I tried to go out in nature, because I could just I spend so many hours on the internet. It's bad.
I'm going to go out tomorrow and I'm taking my shoes off
Hmm.
and I'm walking around barefoot for as long as I can.
Yeah. That last video that you did where you were out in the backyard, that was super cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It was, I walked in circles a little bit because I had more to say than my yard,
Yeah.
than the length of my yard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll go around this tree a couple times.
Gotcha.
But,
Yeah.
well, all right. So I want to thank everybody for being here. It's awesome. Farah and I are probably going to start a podcast here shortly where we talk about maybe controversial spiritual stuff.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So be looking for that. I have a podcast that I previously had going, but it's been a little haven't done much with it. But it's called That Mystery Show. So be looking for that. And don't forget to subscribe to Farah, and if you haven't, and Amber, because both channels are awesome. All right. And I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter.
Same. Bye.
Bye.